First, I want to thank you all for being here today. Thank you for allowing us to host you. I want to give my thanks to all my colleagues who hosted the many sessions that you were participating in. Give them all a round of applause for their efforts. I'm going to make a few general observations. Happy to answer any questions that you have that are remaining, and then Houston has a few closing comments as well. But one of the things I'll say as a segue between the sessions that you attended today is part of the key to having success with any of these programs is building a strong and collaborative team. You have to find people who are good at what they do, who want to do it, and who care passionately about it. And I've been very, very blessed here at Georgia State to have very good people who are working in these various offices, innovative and willing to change things, even though it means in many cases a lot more work for them. One thing I'll say about the collective impact of these various programs and initiatives that you've learned about today is that, you know, we've long known, really for centuries, that there is a form of education that works very well. Small, personalized, intensive classes have always produced excellent results going back even to medieval times. But the problem has been that those types of educational settings and those kind of pedagogies have been exclusively available to the elite, to wealthy families who can send their children to elite small colleges. If there's one common thread that links a lot of what we're trying to do here at Georgia State, and I know a lot of what's going on in your campuses, is seeing if we can bring some of the benefits of a personalized, targeted education that responds to students by individual needs and individual challenges and individual goals and aspirations. Can we bring that to the large-scale public universities? We will never have quite the ability to do what's going on, you know, at Williams or Swarthmore or Harvard, where students are, as a norm, attending classes with 8 or 10 students. But with some of these tracking systems, with some of the ways we're looking at financials, we're looking at academic performance and academic predictions, we can begin to personalize information. What we've seen here at Georgia State is that can be eye-opening, first to the students, that we've gotten response from students who feel much more appreciated, much more recognized, because we're not sending them blast emails because they're a Pell student or blast emails because they're Latino, but instead personalized messages because we know of a specific issue. They're signed up for the wrong course this semester, you need to be in this other course. We see you're having problems in this area, maybe we can help. We know you need this particular course to graduate, maybe somebody can intervene on your behalf and help you get that course. That makes a big difference in student perception, which itself has a positive impact upon students' perseverance and ultimately their success. So that's one way in which it changes, but it also has been transformative as far as the experience from those of us on the inside of these programs. I was sitting here a few years ago wondering how we would ever move from the point where we were looking at students in large, unnuanced cohorts. We were looking at the Pell students, we were looking at the Latino students, and trying to respond to them as if they were some monolithic whole, to the point where we really had drilled down information about each and every student that we were tracking on a daily basis. And I didn't necessarily see the way forward. I didn't know how we were going to get to where we are, to where we needed to be. But the good news here is that it has come relatively quickly, and it is already making an impact. I don't think in any way the lesson of today is that Georgia State is where we want to be or where we need to be. We're at the infancy of using predictive analytics. We're just beginning to see the possibilities. You heard in my opening presentation, and then for those of you, and most of you who attended the advising sessions, in some detail about our academic tracking of students. That's fantastic. But there's a lot of tracking that we're not doing. We're working on reaching back to the high school records so that the students can have those predictive analytics as they hit the ground running once they arrive on campus. We're working on a major project, in part funded by the USG through the incubator project, on financial analytics, where we've gone back and looked at 10 years of our financial data, millions of bits of data, And we're now trying to come up with early alerts that would warn us of financial difficulties students are having before they dig themselves too deep in a hole, just as we were trying to do on the academic realm. As I mentioned briefly earlier, we're beginning to match the competencies that students have, the skills they have, not from taking individual courses, but from the way they perform and they actually individually show their strengths to be in individual ways in certain areas like creative or quantitative or verbal skills, and match that to career advice so that students can know not just what major fits for them, but ultimately what career fits for them. A lot of those things are in the future and on the horizon. We have aspirations to get our systems and our offices to the point where we can give that kind of aid to students. But each time we do so, again and again, I go harken back to, I was very privileged and had the chance to attend some of these elite schools, giving the kind of personalized, individualized attention to our students that they deserve. And in many ways, they deserve more, I would say, than the students who currently get that kind of attention, because for many of our students, as we know, they've got one shot at college. For many of the students who go to those elite institutions, they have a safety net that will give them opportunity after opportunity. So we have all the more reason, all the more passion, and all the more importance to taking seriously our responsibility in trying to be as innovative, as creative as possible to try to help students. So that is my takeaway for you. Hopefully you've gotten individual ideas and comments and so forth that you will share at some point with us. Are there any overarching questions you'd like to ask before I turn things over to Houston for some closing comments? Okay, well, thank you very much for being here again today, and let me turn things to Houston.
Dr. Rennick, you and the entire team here at GSU, we just cannot thank you enough for what you've done even prior to today, but especially today. Really opening up the house, if you will, and showing us around. And certainly we talk all the time about being good system colleagues, and that's something that Georgia State absolutely is a lead in providing way forward. So thank you again. A little bit about next steps, and I was assured that once I stood up and started talking that many of you would start leaning toward your cars so you could beat Atlanta traffic. So I'm gonna definitely do that. We're gonna get you out of here in about 2.5 minutes. Just a thought about how we got from point A to B being here, and then B to C with ideas like this. One of the things you saw today were and this is just scratching the surface, I mean, time to talk about degree path, innovative tools there, financial aid, advising practices, academic supports, the way that technology and data tools are being used to advance all that. I think it's important to realize that Georgia State identified what their research, what their observations, what their rules of thumb said would make the biggest difference in their students' lives. I mean, that's how Complete College Georgia has come alive on the Georgia State campus. And that's how it's come alive on many of your campuses as well. It's come out of your research, your insights, your observations about how to serve the students. One of the things that we're constantly doing is looking for where are those common denominators. It's delving into those completion plans that you have all worked on and you have put forward, and now we're heading into the third year or so of your implementation, and some of it it's never a sprint, it's that marathon toward working toward some of those priorities and finding some way that we can lift those up for the system to be able to take advantage of. Tim just mentioned a second ago the incubator projects. Those are things that we're always looking for places where we can try and put some accelerant to some of that work. There are places where we're trying to see how can we play a little bit of a matchmaker service to perhaps, hey, we heard that Georgia State is doing this and we heard that Bainbridge and GRU have some interest in that. That's an important role that we like to play, and that's the way that many of these conversations can come together. It can also take the form of these type of forums that we have. Some of you you may be fifth and sixth time attendees to some of these activities, but we've had some folks in the room that were involved in the analytics forums that we had last summer to learn about some of the tools that are out there. Many of you back in November came and participated in the conversation that we had around what your colleagues in the system are doing around MOOCs and new models of instruction. We, coming in April, will have a conversation similar similar to this around 15 to finish, and those efforts to try and get students to, if they're going to stay on the path to be able to finish an associate degree in 2 years or a bachelor's degree in 4 years, to stay on that track for 15. And I know was shared with me the other day that GRU has got a program 4 years for you that's very similar in terms of conceptually to the 15 to finish. So what we want to do is, how can we tie those efforts together? How can we get you as colleagues together with others from the campuses and learn about what's going on underneath the CCG banner? One other that we're starting to talk about is an enrollment management focused forum in probably the early fall, but there's a rule that it has to be focused on things that our campuses are doing with the existing tools. That makes sense? Nothing you have to invest any further in. Nothing you have, but things that are really innovative that are being done in that enrollment management space that we need to bring to the attention of others. So what we hope that you see is that we're trying to pay attention to what's coming up in your Complete College Georgia plans. Where are there places where, as a system staff and as a leadership team that surrounds CCG, that we're looking to advance and to accelerate that work? That is something that we make a commitment to. We want to, at every turn, try and figure out some way to be able to get those tools into your hands and make that even easier. I know that we're working on a web tool to be able to advance that as well. And then I'll say this about what you take away from this today. I think that many of you came here. I know you represent campuses that have talked about delving in to some tools such as what you've seen today, or utilizing similar tools that you've got access to on your campus. I hope that you take away at least a little bit of a spark to continue those conversations and be able to share. I hope you also had the opportunity, especially as we worked around with your colleagues, to be able to share and maybe make some more connections. But we will be interested, as we're doing follow-up, which we always do after these events, to learn what were your takeaways. What are those things that you hope to occur next? What are those opportunities that you see as a result of these conversations? Those will form those next opportunities for thinking about how incubation opportunities, thinking about how future forums, thinking about how future matchmaking opportunities will take form in the system. So we thank you both for coming today and hearing about what Georgia State is doing, but we thank you for being here to participate in this very important conversation. Complete College Georgia is not about any one thing. And it certainly is not even about the last 3 years. It's about us seizing the momentum of really 9 or 10 years worth of work in Georgia, which took the form of the retention, progression, and graduation initiatives and other fine things that have happened on our campuses, and finding a way to make certain that we can sustain those into the future. You're very much a part of that conversation, and there's no way that we can do it without you. Thank you for taking the time. Be safe on the road heading back, and we look forward to you participating in a future conversation. Thank you.